All right, so we're attempting to try to find a way to record this little Arduino activity here, and I'm reluctantly putting my face on the screen in the video, which I always hate doing because they usually end up on YouTube, right? And it's like, oh, somebody can see what I look like. But we are working today with an Arduino clone called an Elegoo. This is a Uno R3 model. I have plugged the USB cable from my computer into the device, and you will notice that there is a green power button that's on, and then an orange light, which is kind of the onboard LED that should, by default, also be on. That's pretty normal. Our task here is to fire up the Arduino IDE, write some code. Well, actually, we're not going to write it. We're going to use some code that's already written to make the light blink, and hopefully we get it to work. All right. So if you're on school machines, you do want to bring up the Arduino IDE. So if you go to your Start menu, and I'm going to come down here to do this, you'll notice I have mine. It's on my short list here. But if you're on the school machines, and the school machines are Windows 10, mine is Windows 11, by the way, you'll just come down to the A section, look for the Arduino IDE, and that's Arduino, and launch that piece of software. It'll take a moment to load because it is an integrated development environment, which means it can be a little bit resource intensive to load up. Like the first launch on any given day takes usually a little while for an IDE, but what you're seeing here is the Arduino IDE environment. So like, and you can see front and center is the code screen, right? And for a lot of you, that might be kind of an intimidating thing. All right, so a little primer here, depending on which of the devices you grabbed, and this is kind of happening in a mixed bag here in the classroom. As you see with mine, because this one's in kind of like a beginner state here, the green light's on, meaning I'm powered up and connected to the computer. The orange light is on because that's what it's supposed to be by default. Yours here in the classroom, some of you might have ones that are already blinking or the light is off, and that's because of the code that's on the device. And I'm telling people that's because whoever used it before you didn't clear the stuff off like they were supposed to, right? Welcome to school, right? Some people don't put their stuff away. So what I'm going to do first here, now that it's connected, is I'm going to go to the Tools menu, and I'm going to go to the Port menu. Actually, and I apologize, the Board menu, and there will be this pop-out list where we're going to pick the device that we have. Now, if you look at the device itself real closely, I'm going to try to get close here on the video. You can see mine, and this might be backwards. I'm not really sure. It's backwards on my screen, but it says Elegoo Uno R3, and so this is an Arduino clone. So what I want to select from that list is from Tools, Board, Arduino AVR boards. You guys watching what I'm doing here? You want to come down to Arduino Uno. You'll notice there isn't an R3, there's a mini, but we have the Uno, right? So click Uno. So that just tells it what kind of device we have connected. Next, we're going to go to the Tools menu again, and this time we're going to go to the Port menu. And normally, oh wait, and I apologize for this. I have to make sure that I get the right port number here, and I somehow think that this is wrong. When you guys go to your port menu, what options are you seeing?
4, 1, and 2.
Okay. Okay, so I'm hearing like a mix of responses here. There's actually an additional step, and I think I'm missing a step here if I'm remembering correctly. So I'm just checking my serial monitor and closing it. All right, let's give it a try on COM3, and I want you to notice that COM3 on mine says Arduino Uno next to it. Does yours say Arduino? Okay. Okay, so you might have different COM numbers. It'll depend on your system. Now, the reason that is is if there's other devices in there that are taking those port addresses, they're grabbing them, right? So it can vary from system to system, right? So for me, it's COM3. Yeah, whichever one says Arduino Uno next to it, that's the one you want to choose, right? It should be labeled, right? I only have one, so I'm just selecting that, okay? Ideally, it's good. Now, here's our first test. Because some of you are not in the original state of the device, what I would like you to do is I want you to upload this blank code that's on the current screen into the device. And the way that you do that is like this. You click this right pointing arrow, and that'll take the original code. So you see where I am up here on the screen? It's not the first icon, it's the second one. You click that, and as you click that, you will notice screen opens up at the bottom, and then on the device, if you did it correctly, there's two other LEDs that should have really quickly flashed. Yeah, now I'll come around and make sure everybody's okay. If it worked correctly, your blinking light now should have stopped blinking, and then the light that was off should be on. Is that good for everybody? I'm gonna walk around just really quick and just make sure. So even though not everybody's is like acting the same way right now, I wanna see if we can get it to blink, and then maybe that'll solve the issue. There's a couple other ways to kind of contend with it too, but I don't wanna take drastic measures at this point yet. So I'm gonna have you come up to the File menu and go to Examples, and then go to Basics, and then go to Blink. You guys finding that? So I'm just gonna hang there for just a second so you can see the screen. All right? Once you have that, just go ahead and click, and then it will open up another window, right? So this is a separate window. And this, what's kind of interesting about this, folks, is that, you know, we have two different code windows here. Please don't close the original code window, because we're going to go back to that and push the original code back when we're all done. But what you'll see here is this code down here at the bottom, and there's kind of like these two parts of these programs. And I don't want to talk really heavy about coding or anything like that, but there's what we call a setup method and a loop method. And both of those are required to make a program run. So you're always going to see those in these programs. And because we are working with the built-in LED, that's what should be listed here in the code. So you notice these couple areas where it says LED built-in, LED built-in. So that controls the built-in LED light. Okay. Basically what will happen is once we push this up into the device, your light should start blinking, and there's this delay line here. 1,000 equals 1,000 milliseconds. So that's like when you take a second and break it down into 1,000 individual pieces. If you have 1,000 of those, it's 1 second, right? If you're a musician at all and you play with echoes or anything like that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Some people get it, some people don't. But like, you can change that number too as we go. So you can make it delay for a second or a half second or 10 seconds or whatever you want for the blink. What I'd like you to do, so if we're connected correctly, and I hope we all are, I'm suspecting that I missed a step here, so I apologize. You know, we'll figure that out. Just go ahead and hit that upload button. So I'm just going to push this blink code into the device. You'll see the transmit lights, and now your LED should be blinking. Now, if you look at mine, and I'm going to pull my video screen back over, you can see that happen. I'm going to go through the process of pushing the code again so you can watch the transmit lights also. See that? And now it's blinking. Right. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play with that code a little bit. Right. And so this is what you can experiment with. Is you can come in here, and where it says delay, and I'm going to see if I can zoom in on the code here. I don't know if they have a zoom on this IDE or not, but I'm changing the numbers inside the parentheses. So it said 1,000, but how about I change it to like 200? Change each one of those to 200. And then, yeah, and I changed both of them. So if you're not catching this, the first command sets the power to high, which in the digital world means on. And then we wait 0.2 of a second, barely perceptible, right? And then we switch it off. We wait 0.2 of a second, and then we switch it back on. And it's in the loop method, so it just keeps going. On and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. And if you hit that upload button, and now I'll pull my screen back over. So I did the upload, and now watch how much faster the light is beeping. Are you guys getting the same kind of fast beeping on it? Yeah. All right. So here's what you can do. And there's a bunch of different stuff that we can do with this, real frankly. You know, like you can play with the numbers. That's the one thing that you can do. I think it's really kind of amusing though, that you can like, I'm gonna drop mine down to 100 milliseconds. I'm gonna hold the device up as I inject the code and put it back up on the screen so you guys can watch this. So here comes the upload. Saw the flash, and now see how much faster it's going, right? Another interesting aspect of this is if you want, you can, instead of have it like at 1,000, you could switch this number to like, I don't know, 3,000. Oops, got my numlock turned off here. So I'm gonna switch this to 3,000. I also noticed I deleted one of the parentheses. So switch both of those to 3,000. So given that 1,000 seconds is 1,000 milliseconds is a second, 3,000 milliseconds is 3 seconds, right? So here I go uploading the code again. So watch the screen. Transmit, and now watch the light. 1, 2, 3, on, 2, 3, off. Let's see. You can count it out if you don't believe that it's actually working at that cycle. But what's fascinating about this, I mean, just from an electronics standpoint, is we're playing with the light that's built into the device, right? And what we can do is we can use some of these connectors here on the side, and you'll notice there's little ports and they have like markings on them and stuff. And then you can plug in, for example, I could plug in an external LED and control that, or a motor, or whatever you can dream of, right? And I can write code to control it with this device. I can inject the code into the device, and once the code is injected, all I need is a power source for the device, and the device will do the action without the computer connected. We're just using the computer to inject the code. And I think that's pretty fascinating. All right, to kind of wrap up this activity, what I'd like you to do, if you could, is close the Blink program. You can just close that screen. I'm not even gonna bother to save it, right? Because it's an example file, you can just always pull it up from the examples. But then when you get back to this original screen, please upload that code back to the device, and ideally, you know, your light will come back on and stay on now. If yours doesn't do that, there's a different reason for it, and I'm not really sure what that is. Right? And I'm, you know, honestly, I'm not really too concerned about it. There's no grade or anything attached to this, right? All right. So, folks, anyway, we squeezed it into the time we have allotted too. So I hope you had a little bit of fun with that, but that's kind of our first example of injecting code into